All right, looks like we are now indeed live once again. Technical difficulties as always. I'm gonna tell you, no matter how many times I live stream, seems like something always goes wrong. Well, hello, welcome to Saturday night here from beautiful Seoul, South Korea. Thanks for joining me here on Little Cocktails with Paul live stream for a very special occasion. Thanks for checking us out. It's currently 10:02 p.m. here in South Korea's capital city. And I have a question for you, and that question is, do you recall what you were doing 13 years ago at this time? Because I most certainly do. I was on an adventure of a lifetime that's I guess culminating to this very point. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Yes, 13 years ago, I was arriving here in Seoul, South Korea for what I expected to be a one-year journey of teaching English abroad. And somehow that 1 year has kind of stretched out to much longer. And as we're going to be talking about today, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about how I think Korea has changed in the past 13 years and how I have changed, and answering all of your questions about living in South Korea and what questions you might have about how things have changed. So I'm so glad you're joining us here. So I want to start by taking you back. So the year is 2009. Barack Obama had just taken office a few months ago for his first term as president of the United States. Michael Jackson had just passed away. Avatar was a big hit in the movie theaters. The Jonas Brothers were everywhere. Men all around America were wearing faux hawks. Oh yeah, I remember those, right? All right, Paris Hilton was everywhere. Everybody was going around doing this because a young lady by the name of Beyonce had just put out her iconic song, Single Ladies, and an up-and-coming artist called Lady Gaga had just released her debut song called Just Dance, and we didn't know where she would be all these years later. That was 2009. That is how long ago it was. So how many of you guys remember where you were back then? Because it certainly seems like a long, long time ago. Our friend Sazlisa says she was a receptionist at an education center 13 years ago. Alrighty. I see our friend Lydia. Lydia finally made it to a live chat. Welcome, Lydia. So glad you're here. Bridget is here. Melanie, Jen, our friend Jack from Living Korea channel is here. Awesome. So watching Avatar gave Sazlisa a headache. Ooh, that's no fun. That's no bueno. So yeah. Thanks again for checking us out. So if you guys have any questions about how things may have changed, then let me know. But I landed in Korea. Actually, I think it's actually tomorrow. I think it was the 21st. I think on the 20th at this time, I was probably on an airplane coming over to Korea. So my journey to Korea started back in August 2009. I landed August 21st, 2009. Like I said, I planned to come over for 1 year. 2 years tops. I was a 20-something with bright eyes and full future, and just had quit my job as a flight attendant and wanted to see what it was like to live in a new country. And I, in my wildest dreams, never imagined I would have been bringing in my 40th birthday here, living in Korea. And well, here I am, and I don't have any plans to go anywhere anytime soon. So that is just a little bit of my story. So, since it's 13 years in Korea, I had to celebrate, and it is Cocktails with Paul, right? So I went to the store today. I got this. What do you guys think this is? If you can read, which I'm sure you can. This is actually a bagged cocktail. This is a Cosmopolitan. So I can live out my Carrie Bradshaw Sex in the City dreams here. So this is a 7% alcohol cocktail that I got from the convenience store. And it's kind of odd. It says you have to be 19 years old to buy this because of the alcohol. But there's actually a ton of these different flavors, and they're usually not alcohol. It's like lemonade and juice and stuff. And then I just saw this random one. So I bought a few of them because there's only a few of them on the shelf. And they came out to 1,500 won, which is about $1. So I got this huge cocktail for $1, guys. So this is the perfect way to spend it. So I don't have a martini glass because I'm not a martini drinker, but I do have a wine glass. So cheers to me, I guess, for 13 years in Korea. So I'm going to celebrate with a little bit of a Cosmopolitan. I have not had a Cosmo in so long. But this is when you want to be fancy, but you're not. You're just pretending to be fancy. You drink pouched cocktails from the convenience store. Cheers to everybody. Thanks for joining me. And cheers to 13 years in Korea. Here's to Seoul, South Korea. And here's to you. And here's to me. Cheers. It's yummy. It says it's 7% alcohol. It's got a very like grapefruit flavor. I'm not sure if it's the best Cosmo ever. It's not that strong, but it's nice. It's pretty good. I've got a little straw here. Actually, the straw's for later, for round 2. I can't drink too much because in a little bit we'll be having our VIP live chat over in the Taste So Good VIP group. So every month we do a live chat where everybody turns on their cameras and we talk to our friends from all around the world. And that day is today, and we'll be doing that at 11 p.m. here in South Korea. So in just about an hour from now. So if you are a VIP, and I see many of you are, I'll check you out over on Zoom. And if you want to join that, then all you need to do is click the join button and become a channel sponsor, and you'll get access to that we do every month. All right, really quickly, I see lots of people saying cheers. Liddy saying it's like a Capri Sun. Exactly, it's like an adult Capri Sun, right? Very nice. It's Soul Quail. Our buddy Sarah is here. I guess, yeah, kind of cranberry, right? Whenever I've had Cosmos before, they're very strong. This is not that strong. Kyung A. Kwan Brooks says, yes, cheers to you for 13 years of living in South Korea. I mean, I'm not complaining, don't get me wrong, but it's never in my wildest dreams do I believe I would be here for 13 years. And that's like a third of my life I've spent living in Korea. I mean, I'm grateful and I'm glad, don't get me wrong, but just never envisioned that. But it was a much different time. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Yvonne Zed said, we have every kind of alcoholic drink on a can or a pack in the UK. Can you even get the pouches or packs with little taps on them? Ooh. All right. Maybe we need to go to the UK. Sounds kind of fun. Camille is here, says, hope you're doing fine and happy 13 years. Thank you very much. It's been a great 13 years. I'll tell you about some of my favorite memories. Melanie will be joining us. Can't wait for the live chat. It's just in about 50 minutes, Mel. See you there. Mandy's joining us. Hi, Mandy. Under the influence. Well, I'm hoping to not be too much under the influence. We're going to control ourselves. But yeah, so I want to tell you just a little bit about kind of what I think is a lot different about Korea. So these days, I think a big difference is that social media has taken over, right? Everything Korea, K-dash is trendy and popular and hip and got a lot of people through the pandemic and the K-dramas, the K-pop, the K-fashion, the K-beauty, all of that is just trendy. But back in 2009, guys, that was not the case. When I started planning to come to Korea in 2008, it was a whole different world. YouTube was just in its infancy and people just did not know. And so when I was telling people, hey, I'm going to go move to Korea to teach English for a year, people are like, oh my God, North Korea or South Korea? I mean, I don't know. Some people might still have that question, but now most people know, naughty Korea and nice Korea. People tend to know. But back then, they really didn't know. And it was just kind of a genuine, honest question. And fast forward, things have obviously changed a lot. And, Nightbot, sometimes you scare me. Okay, I don't... Wait. All right, sorry, there's something called It's Nightbot, and it keeps deleting your messages. I don't know why, sorry. It's a new experiment. It's not me saying you're spam. It's this messenger. You're timed out for 5 seconds. Oh, sorry. It'll be fixed for next time. Sorry, it's an experiment. My bad. It was supposed to help take away spammers and stuff, but I think I maybe messed up the settings. So just try to message once a minute or something. Sorry, don't hate me. It's automated. It's not me. It's AI. Blame it on the AI. Sandra says, hi, Paul. Hi, everybody. Happy Korea-versary. Nothing special was on 13 years ago, but 23 years ago, he was traveling to India. Ooh. I always want to go to India. Yeah. Stop spamming. Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry. Oh, no. I feel really terrible now. Bad bot. It'll be fixed for next time. All right. So, anyways, just... yeah, be careful with the chats until I get it fixed. All right, so yeah, back then it was just kind of the wild, wild west. YouTube was in its infancy. I basically watched every single video on YouTube that I could back in those days, And there's really just a few random people who are making short little videos of their time in Korea. And there's one channel called Eat Your Kimchi, a Canadian couple that moved to Korea in like 2007 or 2008. And they were doing vlogs, and that was really the only source of information, kind of inside information into Korea. When I landed in Korea, guys, it was just a whole different world than what it is now. You cannot go onto Instagram or Facebook or any of these places and see all these pictures and live streams and talk to people and have all of this information, this wealth of information. It was basically just kind of like choosing, throwing a dart on the board and going to some place that you really knew very little about. And that was exciting back then. Maybe it is almost a little bit irresponsible, but it was very exciting. So when I moved to Korea, you bring 2 suitcases over and you bring some money in your bank, and you have a visa in your passport. You have a job lined up. You don't know how that job is going to go, and you just cross your fingers and jump in and just hope for the best. And, things worked out well enough. The fact that I'm still here, there were some bumps in the road. But when I landed, guys, I remember, let me tell you, my first night in Korea, there were 2 other teachers who were arriving. I had to wait in the airport. I was the second one to arrive. There was a guy named Patrick and a guy named Eric. And we were all working in the same place. And this old man, holds up a sign, says my name, Paul. And I meet him. He speaks no English. He's like 117 years old. And he basically drives the 3 of us over to the far side of Seoul. About a good 2-hour drive at that point. Not a lick of English this man speaks. And I've been flying for a good 24 hours. I fly from Indianapolis to Chicago to LAX over to Seoul. Just tired. And we get to this place and they put us up in what we call a love motel, which is, well, just like what it sounds like. People buy them for just a night or just a few hours for a little hanky-panky. And that's where we were put up for the first week. So our apartments weren't ready. And I get up there, and it's August, and it is hot. And I can't figure out how to turn on the air conditioner. I'm in this small little room. It smells like cigarettes because in 2009, everybody smoked everywhere. Cigarettes were like $1 a pack. They were so affordable. And at that time, I was a smoker, and so I was in heaven. I was like, I don't need to spend $13 for a pack of cigarettes. I'm going to be over here smoking my Marlboro menthols for $1 a pack, y'all. And I could smoke them in the street. I could smoke them in the restaurant. Oh, yeah. Samgyeopsal and soju and a cigarette. Those are what my 20s were all about. Obviously not now. Things have definitely changed. But it was definitely a much different time. And when I got to this hotel, there was movies, I'll just put it that way, DVDs, all downstairs, like a little library. And those DVDs were very much for, a little Saturday night, extracurricular activities, if you get my drift, for couples. So I had no clue what I was getting into. At this time, GPS wasn't even a thing on phones. I think it was just starting to kind of become a thing. I had an iPhone 2 or something. I didn't have Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi wasn't everywhere. And I remember going out for the first time, trying to make a circle or a square around my apartment. Because I was like, if I get lost, I might not ever get found again. I may never find my apartment. There was no GPS. I had to just walk and hope to get back. And eventually, of course I did, everything was fine. And I went to my work, and that job was terrible. It was awful. But I survived a year. I did it. And I would have to say, though, if we really break down to what is different about Korea in 2009 versus 2022, is that it's much more on a worldwide stage. And I think we talk a lot about globalization, and we talk a lot about westernization and the differences between those. And I would say Korea has definitely, depending on how you look at it, it's either globalized a lot or it's very much more westernized in terms of the availability and openness to different cultures and just food, clothing, movies, things like that. But obviously now Korea exports so much in terms of entertainment, fashion, all of those things. But I think a big part of it too is that now Korea is kind of a tourist destination. I don't think in 2009 anybody was coming here for tourists, unless you had a very specific connection or tie to South Korea. Like if you had Korean roots or you had lived here in the past, you probably weren't coming here for a summer vacation. Of course, that's changing now. I think a lot of that, again, comes back to the K-dramas and stuff. But so many things have changed really quickly, and I think with that, some of the, I feel like I moved to Korea in a time where it was really exciting because you didn't know what you're getting yourself into. I mean, I remember my first year in Korea, Taco Bell was opening up in Itaewon. Y'all, I swear, my friend Chris and I, he was from California, we lined up to be at the opening of Taco Bell on a Saturday morning. We waited in line for like 3 hours just to get some Nachos Bel Grande, y'all. And it was like the best Nachos Bel Grande in the whole wide world. Why? Because it was available in Korea. Because up until then, if we wanted even semi just kind of good Mexican restaurant, I remember we had to go down to Gangnam to a place called Dos Tacos, because everything else I tried to get Mexican food and it was just atrocious, and Western food in general was just expensive and for the most part nasty. But now there's so much in terms of variety, and so living in Korea, at least if you're living in Seoul, and I would assume other places like Busan or other first tier cities, isn't going to be that much different than living in a lot of people's own hometown. If you learn a little bit of the language and learn how to get by, there's so much once you kind of dig in and kind of become familiar with different things, and with apps these days and with smartphones and with vlogs, there's just a wealth of information and just a wealth of guidance there to help you, which is so awesome. But I think it takes maybe a little bit of the excitement out because it's all there, right? What do you guys think? Yvonne says, is it easy to get lost in Korea? I've tried really hard to just go out and get lost walking around when I first moved to your city 12 or something years ago, but I couldn't always find my way home. I mean, if you don't take your phone out, right, or if you just leave your phone in your pocket and just explore, you'll of course get lost. But I mean, the thing, at least about Seoul, I will say, for the most part, if you're in the city, if you walk, at least 20 minutes or so, like you're almost guaranteed to run into a subway station. And once you get to a subway station, you're golden because the subway will take you everywhere. And that was something that I realized really quickly, was that no matter where I was, if I just kept walking, I would find a subway station. And then I could hop on the subway station, and then I would know how to get home because, the subway's easy to read. But if I didn't have GPS or anything, which I didn't back then, and I'm glad I didn't, because I think it made me much more interesting. I remember the first time I ever tried to take a bus. I was trying to go to a place in English, it's called Technomart. You guys, I decided, I got online at home. I used this website. I remember it's called smrt.co.kr, and I looked it up and I wrote down the directions because we didn't have these apps back then, 2009. And I tried to get on the bus and go, and I realized, I think I was meeting a friend, actually. I think we were going to go watch Avatar 4D, actually, if I think about it. And I somehow got lost. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take a taxi. So I get off the bus, I get in the taxi, and I'm trying to get the man to take me to Technomart. And I'm saying it in a very American accent, like, Technomart, Mart. He's not understanding my words because in Korean it's like technomata. And so finally I just get kind of frustrated, like mata, technomata, like whatever. It's like, oh, technomata. And I was like, okay, yeah, I guess that works. And I got to where I needed to be. It was always an adventure there. Whereas now I think, I've lived here for so long, it's much less of an adventure. But I had to go out and try to find adventures. I have to, try to put myself into different things. Oh, welcome to Jane Gross, who just joined our VIP. Thank you, Jane. Welcome. She's a level 1 supporter. Greatly appreciate it. Everybody, welcome Jane as a VIP. Jane, you'll get to join our VIP Facebook group. I can send you a link a little bit later. And also, we do have our live chat tonight. So if you want to stick around, in about 40 minutes, we'll be all connecting on Zoom. You're more than welcome to join us. You can actually check the community tab. You should have access to it. It should unlock. And you'll find the Zoom link. But welcome. Shout out to Jane Gross for joining our very important Penguin Squad. Glad to have you up here. It's so Quell says, we might get yelled at for using emojis. Thumbs up. Maybe you have to be careful with it. Yeah, sorry. I'll have to I'll have to take care of this bot to see, because sometimes I get these naughty people and I have to try to ban them. So I think the bot's just it's learning. Right, we have to be careful. Sibahan is here, says, hey Paul, hello, hello. And Joy Chim Steele says, happy Korea-versary, high up a bloom. High up a bloom, thank you. Lots of welcome to our VIP member, Jane. And yeah, thank you. So, if you guys have any questions about how things have changed, do let me know as well, and I will be happy to join. So, again, cheers. I think one of the other really interesting things about living in Korea in 2022 versus living in Korea. Actually, I'll tell you another story. Just story time day. How about that? I don't tell a whole lot of stories in my live stream. I usually just try to talk with you guys, but I kind of just want to tell you some of my favorite stories and my favorite memories of 13 years. Like, how do you roll up 13 years in Korea? But that's kind of what we're going to do today. So when I first moved to Korea, I told you like a 2.5 hour car ride from Incheon International Airport to my love motel that I was getting dropped off at for the first weekend. And I remember, there was the guy who looked like he was from Tales from the Crypt, 185 years old, was driving us, didn't speak a lick of English, but he was sent from the recruiting agency to pick us up. And we're going through, he's listening to Korean music, and at that time, the only K-pop song I knew was the Wonder Girls. Do you guys remember the Wonder Girls? At this point, I think it was one of the first songs. It was actually the English version of Nobody. Do you guys remember that? How many of you remember, can go way back to Nobody? Like, I want nobody but you. Yeah, that was what was in style and in fashion back those days. There was, BTS was still in diapers, and Blackpink was, they were still red. They weren't even pink yet. I don't know. It's a dumb joke, but they were, it was all about the Wonder Girls. And I remember it was about Rain, and Big Bang, I think, was just kind of starting in 2021. But I didn't know about them until I moved to Korea. But I knew the Wonder Girls because I think they had opened up for the Jonas Brothers as well. So, yeah, be careful with the emojis, I guess. All right. Melanie's never heard of the Wonder Girls. Yeah, guys, be careful with the emojis. You're getting put in timed out. All right. So be careful with them. I've got to fix that. Oh, sorry. But yeah, I remember driving through the city of Seoul and just looking at the window. And this sounds so weird to say now, but I remember seeing a building, and on it said Trump, and it was a Trump Tower that's here in Yeouido area. And at that time, I felt this was Obama had just taken office in January of that year. But I felt a little bit of comfort. I knew Trump. At that point, he was, the man from New York. He was the real estate mogul. He was the man from The Apprentice, the one saying, you're fired, that guy. And so I felt very comfortable. I was like, oh, well, if Trump can do business here, it's got to be a good enough city as an American to live in, Little did I know. Fast forward 10 years later, I'd actually see Trump's motorcade, the presidential motorcade would go right past my work. And it was the only time I ever saw the presidential motorcade in my life, and it just happened to be Trump. It's this weird full circle moment. Not the best choice occasion, but it was an occasion. It was kind of a weird moment. But yeah, I remember that first year too. I remember a lot of celebrities, again, because it was before a lot of the smartphones. I remember seeing, I think too, when I moved to Korea, I was shocked at the gap in technology between the U.S. and Korea. In Korea, I moved here, and they had services food delivery services, like McDonald's delivered, and you could get basically everything delivered. You could call a company, and they would deliver it. And if you wanted to text them, or maybe not text them, but you could call them and ask them hey, can you stop at the convenience store and pick up some beer or pick up cigarettes? They would do that, and then you just pay them. And that was so cool. And it was basically, Uber Eats or something like that, or Postmates like you have in the States. But that was, really new to us, or new to me, because it just nothing like that existed back then. And when I came here, I was just shocked. And like, there was like, people were taking selfies. I was like, I've never seen a front-facing camera, because it wasn't Apple that did it at first. It was some other company, and people were using their smartphones for different, like to pay on the subway and pay that stuff just wasn't the case back then. And so the gap was just huge. There was even a service called Hey Juseo, and I remember they had these bright pink motorcycles, and you could call them, and it literally translates to like a do it for me. And you'd be like, yo, can you stop on my work and like, I don't know, turn off the lights or go walk my dog? And they would do it. They would do everything that you asked them to do. And just nothing like that existed. Now, of course, I think a lot of the gap has kind of, tightened. And I don't live in the States, so I don't know how much more advanced things are here. Maybe if you've traveled here, you can tell me. It's been a long time since I've been back home. But I think a lot of that has kind of, come to closer. It's not as big of a gap as it was back then. Anitra flipped off Air Force One when he came to a rally there. Yeah. Yeah, y'all be careful of those emojis. It'll be fixed for next time. This is my first time to use it. I'm trying to make things cooler. Trying to have, the chat on the screen for people who watch the replay. They can see what's going on easily and all these other things. And I'm just experimenting. So don't take it personally. It'll be fixed next time. It's all just automated stuff. When did Human come into the picture? I met him not long after I lived here, actually. 2010-ish or something like that. It's quite a while. Speaking of 2009 and first jobs and love motels, shout out to Rob Paisley. He was actually the first teacher at the school. So I mentioned there were 3 of us who started at the same time. Rob was actually the head teacher at this terrible little place that I worked. And I think you're still in Korea, aren't you, Rob? I don't know if you even remember. You probably don't remember me starting. I'm sure you've seen many people come and go throughout the years. But yeah, we actually lived in the same apartment building, which I just was in that area last month randomly. Things have changed a lot since the Honorsville days, let me tell you. Anitra says the mobile services are similar, plus wonder exploitation. I remember too, a lot of speaking of like mobile services, when I moved to Korea back then, things were much more difficult in terms of foreign friendly services. Meaning, like, I remember trying to get a bank account, and I was able to get a bank account, but I couldn't get a debit card, like a Korean, they call it a check card. All I could get was just an ATM card and take out cash. And at that time, I think they had just introduced the 50,000 won bill, and like basically $50. Up until then, it was like $10. So if you want to take out $100, you had to have like 10 bills. It was just kind of annoying. But it, I couldn't get a check card. And then when I finally did, I couldn't get it to use overseas. It never made sense. I remember taking a trip and being like, yo, like I need to take out cash when I'm in the Philippines. Because I was going to the Philippines, I was going to Cebu. And I was like, I might need to take out cash. And like, oh, sorry, foreigners can't have a foreign debit card. I'm like, I'm not asking for a credit card. I'm just asking, like, take my own money that I earned, that maybe my school gave to me, or maybe they didn't because they didn't like to pay me at that time, be able to take that out in a foreign country. And they're like, no, it's impossible. You can't do it. And even to get a phone, I couldn't get a phone back then. I had to get a prepaid phone, which meant I had to like go to the store and give them like $20, and then that would just give me like so many credits so that way I could make phone calls or whatever. But I still had to have a Korean person sign off on it. So I had to take my Korean coworker and she'd like sign for it, but it didn't make sense because like, it's all prepaid. Like I can't, it was just weird. But now a lot of those things have changed, and foreigners can sometimes get credit cards and can, debit cards and stuff. All that's very normal. And getting phones in your name is very normal. It's changed a lot. Rob's been here longer than me. I don't know when you arrived. I was here in 2009, so I'm sure you were here 7, 8, 6, 5. I don't know. So he's probably seen a lot more changes than I have. But Rob, what would you say? Is there any huge changes that you can think of off the top of your head? It's kind of what we're discussing today. How Korea has changed. I think when I think about myself, how I have changed in 13 years, it's kind of a difficult question because it's I've aged so much. I was in my 20s back then. Now I'm in my I just turned 40, so I've obviously matured a lot, changed a lot. Rob has been here since 2006. All right. He said it was the hard days back then. Hard, but also a little more exciting. I don't know. I thought I thrived. I liked that time. The smartphones really changed the game. Online shopping. Again, Amazon wasn't a huge thing in the States either back then. And so when I came here, Coupang wasn't a thing, but there was Gmarket, and you could get things delivered like next day or 2 days. I was like, whoa, this is incredible. So that was a thing. But like I remember having to go to Itaewon anytime I wanted something. I was like, I want, just anything that was non-Korean. I had to go all the way over to Itaewon. And there was a place called Red Door, I remember. And it was just a little international shop that had stuff. Yeah, that's 13 years. I don't know when I'll leave Korea. I don't know if I'll make it out alive. Let's be realistic. Who knows? But I'm like, will it be another 13 years? And if it's another 13 years I live here, at that point I'd be well into my 50s, my mid-50s almost. It would be quite interesting to go from being in my 20s to being in my 50s. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. I think being here 13 years is already quite a feat. I don't know if it's going to be 13 more. I don't know. Korea, the older you get, the harder it is to live here, I think. Just because you start to age out and it becomes harder to be employed. I'm sure it's that way in many places in the world, but in Korea specifically. But he says, I'm almost the same age as your husband. Well, shout out to him. And just like anniversaries, when one ends, you start another. So we're just about 25 minutes away from our VIP live chat again. So if you guys want access to that, then make sure you hit that join button, and you'll be able to get access to that immediately. Join our little Zoom chats that will happen. Rob says Itaewon is so different now. It really is true, and I find it interesting because when I arrived in Korea, Itaewon, I lived, it took us about an hour, right? I remember we had line 5 to somewhere, and then like Botigoge Station or something, and then transfer to line 6. It was like 45 minutes to an hour. And I remember we used to pregame. We'd go to the store and get a Fanta and dump out half of it and then pour in a bottle of soju and drink that. I was in my 20s, forgive me. And back then, Itaewon was a place to almost be avoided. Like, Koreans would never go there. And it was certainly not a trendy and hip place. It was just a place for foreigners to go and hang out and to try to eat McDonald's. And, at that time, people were like, oh, the good old days of Itaewon are over. But still, plenty of people thought it was, skeezy enough and full of debauchery and mayhem and filth, the way I like it. But then around, 2011, 2012, that JYP song Itaewon Freedom came out, and things changed a lot. And then that Itaewon Class with that actor came out, and now it's like Itaewon is a tourist place. Like, it's mostly Koreans. Like, it's really just kind of flipped over. Now most foreigners don't want to go there because they're like, it's just overpriced stuff now. It's just like anywhere else in Seoul. But it's also a place like people come to Korea they want to go to because they think it's so cool. I'm like, really? You want to stay in? I mean, I basically live in Itaewon, so I shouldn't really talk smack about it, but it's interesting to see the evolution of Itaewon. It's gentrified a lot. Easy says hi. Oh, hi, Easy. Haven't seen her in a long time. She's still doing the tattoo stuff. Melanie says, you have been a part of giving Korea more life to the outside world during the pandemic. Oh, well, thank you, Melanie. I think that's another thing, too. Well, let me break open this cocktail as well. There's only 2 of them. I got both of them. I mean, they were $1 a piece. I mean, it'd be irresponsible not to buy both of them, right? They were cheaper than a bottle of soju. But what was I saying? Oh, speaking of, I really believe, though, Korea being on the world stage in terms of entertainment and everything, a lot of that is owed to the contributions of foreign vloggers and foreign influencers, even though they tend to get a lot of hostility and negativity thrown their way. But I think if you go way back to who I mentioned earlier, Year Kimchi, a Canadian couple. Again, they moved here in 2007 or 2008, something like that, and were really some of the first vloggers on YouTube. I mean, they grew international fame, not just in Korea, but abroad. And they've since divorced and broken up, and it's messy and it's terrible. But their contributions of highlighting K-pop, the good and the bad, I think really set the stage and introduced a lot of those groups. And I remember, I don't know the exact specific rules of what it was back in the day, but there was something like where K-pop couldn't be exported because it was, I don't know, just the rules of the government or just the companies. I don't know. But Year Kimchi, they even did this annual award, and they would try to interview different people. And one year, very early on, the winner was actually BTS, and they contacted the record company, fully expecting the record company to be like, yo, no, you can't. This is an English-speaking YouTuber. Like, you're not going to speak to them. But they actually allowed him to do it, and they accepted the award, and it was on this vlog. And it was like the first time that a record company like allowed one of their trainee groups to be put on social media like that. And I think that opened up a lot of doors. And then other groups started doing it in reaction channels. And I think reaction channels had a lot to do with K-pop. And I think if it wasn't for a lot of the influencers back in the day, you know, it wouldn't have been where it is now. Lydia's going to go. All right. Yeah. I'll see you in the chat in about 20 minutes, I guess. I said, remember the first taxi trip and they tried to take us to the wrong place? Goodness. I remember getting dropped off. I was trying to go. It was early on. I was trying to go home from somewhere, from Hongdae, I think. And I was trying to go back to Gangdong. And the guy dropped me off in Gangnam, which, if you don't know, is pretty far away. Like 3 in the morning when you're drunk, you know, new to Korea. That's a big difference. And I had no idea where I was. The only reason I knew is because there's a building in Gangnam that looks like has Swiss cheese in it. All these holes. And I saw that and I was like, oh my God, I'm in Gangnam. Because I had just been there earlier that day. It was kind of a weird thing. So, taxis, I rarely ride in taxis anymore. I should. But yeah, definitely I'm sure they are much better. Park Seo-joon, yes. PSJ, that's right. I kept trying to remember his name. I could see his face in Itaewon class, but I couldn't think of his name. All right, again, guys, if you are joining us, just a friendly reminder that also we'll be live streaming tomorrow morning, live from the National Folk Museum of Korea here on YouTube and on Facebook. So you can go over to that video and click thumbs up and click to get notified and join us there for our live weekly virtual tour of Korea. So looking forward to that. That'll be in about 12 hours. I have a lot to do. I have another live chat after this, take a nap, and then I'll live stream tomorrow. It's getting a lot of me today, aren't you? Tattoo and YouTube video editing. Oh, nice. YouTube editing is, well, for me, I guess it's just more of a passion, but it's definitely a lot of work. Carol says, good morning from Gulfport, Mississippi. Wish you could join the Zoom, but you have to work. Oh, no. Well, we'll think of you. I'll record it, all right? And I recorded last times, too. And we'll upload it. But we'll be back next month. And, hopefully you can join us then. I know I always try to change the time. This time we're doing it later. Normally we've never done one at 11 p.m. Korea time, but I wanted to make sure to get tonight's chat in because it's you only get to celebrate your 13-year Korea-versary once, right? So I wanted to do that together. But we'll think of you. I know a few people said they can't join us today, but there's always next month. Next month is September, and then it'll be October. We'll have a Halloween party, and then it'll be November, and I don't know what we'll do. Then it'll be December. Maybe we'll have an online Christmas party. Who knows? There'll be all kinds of fun and festivities coming up throughout the year. So I'm looking forward to it myself. Hopefully you are as well. And yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of in a nutshell. There have been a lot of good times in Korea, but there's also been a lot of just mundane times. I think it's something that people often forget, is that when you live in a foreign country and you work in a foreign country, that life just becomes normal, you know? It's some people, when I go back home, they're like, "Oh, tell me all about how's living in Korea and how's this and that." I'm like, how's it living anywhere? Like you wake up and you go to work and you do the work thing, and Monday through Friday from 9 to 6 or whatever, and then you as you get older, you relax on the weekends and catch up on more work, So people don't realize it's not a vacation. It's like a 13-year vacation. It's like I'm working most of the time, doing the dishes and cleaning the floors and taking dogs for walks and all of those other, mundane things that aren't always very exciting. And so when you guys see me on the live virtual tours on Sunday mornings and I'm coming to you from a fun, cool place, sometimes it's just kind of the highlight of the week for me too. That's the fun part of it. So that's the part of it that looks, really cool, but it's just because it's that one little chunk of the week where it's normally not like that. Our friend Phil from the Daily Phil in the Philippines, it's a lot of Phil, says, "Happy Korea-versary, Paul." Oh, thank you, Phil. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Hope you're taking care and staying safe. And what is it? Is it rainy season there? Keeping dry? I don't know. Is it rainy season in the Philippines? So as Lisa says, "Yay!" When it says you're being human in a foreign country, exactly right. So you get to have a lot of fun, but also a lot of the times it's just making a living, and spending time in the office and doing all those other things. Not that that's not great and that's not, wonderful, but it's still work. It's still doing the same thing over and over. But I think one of the things too that I've realized a lot, like people often ask me, what something you wish you knew going into coming to Korea? It's hard to say because at that time there was so much I didn't know, whereas now you have access to everything. If you want to move here, like everything you ever want, just a touch of a screen, you can get that information. Like, there's almost nothing you can't find out. But I would say my number one piece of advice to people would be, don't compare everything, because some foreigners, they come here and they just compare everything, and they just, if something's not the same, they don't like it because it's different. And that's not something that I think is good. Even if you're starting a new job, just don't compare. Just some things, a lot of things here are different. Sometimes they're better, sometimes they're worse, and sometimes they're just different. And you just have to, I think once you get to the point in your life or your expat, your expat experience, your immigrant experience, whatever you want to call it, your foreign experience, and just realize that to just appreciate things as they are, then you'll have a much better time. And just stop comparing, because some people, it's like every sentence is like, "Oh, in this country, my country was this way," and I'm just like, I don't care. I don't live in your country, sir or ma'am. I don't want to constantly compare things. But I think also is having that. I've always had a very almost like childish view of living abroad, where I still appreciate the mundane, or the little things rather. Sometimes the mundane. The things like even when I went to the festival last week in Suwon, like I've been to that palace multiple times in the past year for different things, and I'm still like blown away. I'm like, oh my god, it's a palace. It's still so cool. No matter, I'm going to Gyeongbokgung tomorrow, and I've been there a million times, but each time I'm just like blown away by it. It's still so awesome to me, and it's I I just don't kind of lose that wonder. Like I could still go into a store, like a grocery store, and just spend an hour just walking around looking at things and like being amused and, you know, realizing. And the more I do vlogging and the more I do these things where I get to interact with you guys, I see it. So many people are like, oh, I really wish I could visit South Korea, but I can't because of, you know, health or financial reasons or whatever other reasons. You know, you're so lucky. And trust me, 13 years ago, nobody was saying we were lucky to move here. Like it was very much like, ooh, are you really? Like, please don't go. There's not even people told me like there's not even electricity there. I'm like, yeah, there is. So it's very, very different. Carol says you should appreciate their culture. Absolutely. And I think sometimes the appreciation can be, it can be difficult for some people, especially when you move and the first few months are fun and exciting and things are new. And then that newness wears off, and all of a sudden you realize you're in this foreign country, and friends are harder to make, and you know some of your pastimes are harder to make, and you know you have to really learn to just to appreciate your own company and to appreciate that I've just kind of made a general rule. Like I don't go to going away parties anymore. I'm tired of like trying to meet friends and then after 6 months, I can go back to my country. Let's go have a going away party. I'm like, I'm not going. I don't care anymore. Like, cause it's constantly a revolving door of people in your life. And so it kind of is almost like a lonely existence in a lot of ways. But at the same time, once you just kind of realize that you can kind of live in the moment, you're like, yeah, I'm going to be friends with you, but like, I probably won't be friends with you that long because one of us is going to leave. Like you're gonna move on, you know. That you're just kind of like, all right, just enjoy it now, you know. Like you're probably gonna move back to your country, and someday I'm gonna move back to my country probably, and you know it'll be goodbye. So that's just what it is. Melanie says you showed the screenshot picture you took from the Suwon live, and they were so blown away how beautiful it was. Aww, it was so cool. I wish the screenshots would have been better. I don't know, they weren't very great. I mentioned it on Sunday though. Like you guys know I use my lovely Galaxy S22. See, I love Korea. I use their phones, not Apple. But it's just not that great for the purposes of live streaming, and the quality is kind of garbage when I use my phone rather than using human's phone. So I'm really considering it, guys. Considering moving to the Apple, just for the sake of better live streams. And it hurts to think I'm going to go to Team Apple because I don't want to, but I might do it just for you because that's how much I care about you. And I want you to have a good live stream experience, so I'm thinking about it. Like Tasha, yeah. I mean, well, I had a goodbye coffee with Tasha. But like, I mean, Tasha, she didn't have a party, I guess. But like, when some people have like these huge going away parties, I'm like, I'm just not doing it. I'm tired of going to them. Then everybody's like, it's not goodbye, it's see you later. And it's like, odds are it's goodbye forever. Like, we're probably gonna stop communicating in about a month, and then we'll never see each other again. But you know, it was fun while it lasted, and I'm glad I met these people. Don't get me wrong. So, and I think about them often. And when you see so many people come and go, it's just kind of like. You almost can't miss people because you're like, well, there's just so many people on the list, and like people are gonna go. You just said though, the friends you make, and if they are real, you will remain friends that you believe. Oh, absolutely. And there's still people I keep in contact with, and but it's not the same, you know. People move away, and you know they get married and have kids and do their things. It's like, honestly, will our paths ever meet again? I don't know. Maybe they will. Sometimes they do. Sometimes people come back to visit. Sometimes I see them abroad, and it's great and it's fun, but it's just kind of life, right? I guess. But you have to learn. Sometimes you're like, oh, I have so many friends, I have so many commitments, and then it's like 6 months later, everybody's left and moved away, and you're like, oh, I don't have a social circle anymore. Like it just goes up and down, up and down. It's really strange sometimes. All right, my friends. So in just a few moments, we're going to start wrapping up because I have another live stream that's going to start here in just under 10 minutes for our VIP monthly live chat that I'm really excited to see. So this is the time where people from all around the world turn on our cams and turn on and just have a little chat and have a good old time. So if you want to become a member, you can have a few minutes. You can do that. You can hit the join button, become a channel sponsor, and do that. How do I meet you? And I think if you guys have asked him, I've answered that multiple times. He actually used to cut my hair back in the day, like 2010. I think it was. Yeah, he's just a hair cutter dude. I mean, it's not a great story, but yeah, that's it. All right, Carol, have a great day, says Lisa. I'll see you over there in just a moment. Gotta go turn on the Zoom and turn off Facebook and head over to Zoom. Sassy Libran, Karen P says, "Hi, Paul. Finally got here as you were wrapping up. See you in the live chat." All right, yeah, I'm just about to end this one and head over to the next one. This is my reminder that if you are a VIP, I'll see you in just a few moments. And for everybody else, I'll be back tomorrow morning with a live virtual tour of South Korea, and then back on Tuesday with TTT, Tuesday Taste Test. Thanks to everybody who's joined us for this 13-year retrospective of my time in Korea. I'm sure there'll be plenty more stories. Do you guys like story times? Or, I don't know. This is kind of different. I usually don't talk a lot about stories, but maybe we should. And for everybody else, I'll be back Tuesday with Tuesday Taste Test and, I don't know, all kinds of cutting up and fun. All right, Rob, it's nice talking to you. Yeah, let's catch up sometime. I don't know. You used to live kind of in the same area. I don't know if you still do. Caroline says, "Am I late?" Oh, you are late, my friend. We're actually just cutting off the live stream because I have another one to go to. A private live chat with my VIPs. So sorry, but I'll be back tomorrow. Caroline, you can join us tomorrow with our virtual tour of South Korea. All right, thanks again, guys. Make sure you've hit like on this video and turn on your notifications. We'll be live again. All right, for everybody else, I'll see you in just a few moments. Everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow. Love you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye, everyone.